So, Rebel Moon, it has generated quite the discussion. There's many people who do not agree with my assessment of Rebel Moon, and I get it. Everybody is going to have things they like and things they dislike. There are movies that people consider cult classics that I've just never been a fan of. My interests are niche. I will admit that. So my opinion doesn't necessarily mean this is the law. Just as I said in my last video, no one's opinion is law. People might agree wholesale, or you might get a large number of people that agree, yo, we really like this. And you might have that one solitary person, or maybe 100 people that say, yo, I actually enjoyed this. Man, Rebel Moon, I don't know if I've seen such a I don't want to call it a hate campaign. People genuinely do not like this movie. And I'm not saying, just as I said in my last video, I'm not saying this movie is perfect, but my goodness, people paint this movie like it is the worst thing ever created. And I'm here to tell you, I enjoyed it, and I have definitely seen movies that were a lot worse than this. And that's not even to say I think this movie is bad. I don't think it's bad. Anyway, I'm going to read some articles covering Rebel Moon. And there's something interesting about Rebel Moon that has kind of caught my attention. And it's the streaming numbers. It's doing very well. Now, it might be that everyone is saying, yo, this movie is terrible. And you have some lone voices like myself saying, no, actually, it's good. And I think people are watching a movie to see, well, is it really that bad? Is it as bad as critics say? Or is it good? And I have seen some YouTube reviewers. Now, I am not a movie critic. I going back and forth in the comments with some people on my last video. I want to make this clear. I am not a movie critic. I enjoy movies. I talk about movies on this channel. Primarily, I try to keep it about comic books, but just geek culture in general, I cover on this channel. And I talk about movies, not because I'm a movie critic, because I enjoy movies. There are some movies I don't enjoy, and I'll say when I don't enjoy it, but I'm not necessarily coming from an in-depth critique of the art of making movies. There's just some movies I enjoy and some movies I don't as a fan anyway. I'm going to get to these articles. Well, one specifically first, an article from Bounding into Comics. It says, Netflix celebrates the debut of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, as the film is completely obliterated by critics. And it is. Look, the movie is being blasted. Again, obviously, I am no movie critic. Most of the critics that I follow and listen to have blasted this movie. There's been some good things, but they've blasted it. So clearly, I do not have the chops to be a critic because I like things that most of the critics hate. Anyway, the first entry in the Rebel Moon series, Zack Snyder's two-part cinematic project produced by Netflix, has been out for just about a week, and the streaming giant has revealed that the film has had quite the cinematic debut, all the while completely obliterated by critics and audiences alike, which is true. This thing, the streaming numbers from what Netflix is saying is crazy. It's out of here. But the critics and some audiences are destroying this movie. I cannot say that I've ever seen anything like this, a movie that so many people hate, and yet it's getting destroyed. And I believe it's probably, I don't know this for a fact, but it's probably because people are going to see the movie to see, is it really that bad? And if you already have Netflix, I mean, it doesn't cost you anymore. So people are probably watching the movie thinking, okay, well, let me see if this thing is actually any good. And maybe they actually hate it. And they're like, nope, hated it. It's not good. Okay, it says the Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, had managed to generate up to 23.9 million views worldwide in 3 days after its official debut on the night of the 21st of December, becoming the most viewed film of the week. And let me say, those numbers are nothing to scoff at. There are networks that wish they could get viewership like that in a 3-day period. The beauty of Netflix is those are actual numbers. They know exactly how many people are watching this movie, so they know if they have something to move forward with. My guess, I could be 100% wrong about this. My guess is people, even who hate the movie, will watch the second movie. I believe the title is The Scar Giver. I believe they will watch that movie just to see if they're going to hate that movie as much as they hated the first one. Snyder, who is credited as both the writer and director of the project, addressed the news in a statement declaring, "It's been a truly unparalleled experience introducing Rebel Moon to global audiences, and I am thrilled that the movie is #1 around the world." Yo, I mean, if it's #1, it's #1. Hate it or not, it is what it is. We have the most dedicated and loyal fans across the world that any filmmaker could ask for, and seeing them consistently be supportive has been an enormously rewarding experience, he concluded. And look, again, not everybody who's watching this movie is necessarily a fan. There are people who are watching a movie to blast it. There are some people watching a movie trying to see, okay, is this movie as bad as all the critics have proclaimed? People really want to know, is Rebel Moon really that bad? And I believe that is, I'm not going to say a large portion, but let's just say a good portion of the people who are watching it are probably coming from that line of thinking. Okay, it says the second most viewed title of the week was the Obama-produced Leave the World Behind apocalyptic thriller starring Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke, which garnered 19.7 million views in 7 days after its debut, followed by Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget with 14.9 million views. So, yo, the fact that Rebel Moon got, let me go back up and see what it is. What they say, 23 million views in 3 days. And it took these other movies like a week to garner similar views and not even get up to that level. It's kind of crazy. While the number of views Rebel Moon has been getting since release is a reason to celebrate for Netflix, it is the film's reception with audiences and critics that should raise some concerns, since the scores for Snyder's science fantasy epic have been abysmal across the board. And that's true. I'm going to look at Rotten Tomatoes and see what this movie is at as of late. Last time I checked, I want to say the critic score was like 24%. Yeah, it's dropped. So the critic score is 24% and the audience score is 62%. It was 71 at one point. So it is definitely getting destroyed. Again, what critics are saying about the movie has not changed my opinion. I still think Rebel Moon is a good movie. And I don't know. I believe people who hate the movie are really being honest. But I wonder if they gave the movie an honest chance, or if they were just looking for a reason to hate it. Now, it may be that people just actually think the movie's trash. That's very possible. Again, I like it. My opinion has not changed. So there's also this other article from The Hollywood Reporter. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon delivers solid debut for Netflix. A Child of Fire, the first half of the director's two-parter, garnered almost 24 million views in the first 3 days. I thought it was going to be a 3-part movie series, but maybe I'm mistaken. Says part one, A Child of Fire, has kicked off with viewing numbers that suggest a solid start to an original franchise. You know what I wonder? I wonder, and I could be completely wrong about this, so I don't want you to take this as me saying this is law. I wonder how many people watched Rebel Moon and did not like it, might watch the second movie, like it, and then go back to the first movie and go, you know what? Maybe I judged this a little too harsh and I actually like this movie. Now, that may not happen. May not happen. I'm just saying, I wonder if that might be a thing. Netflix announced Tuesday that the science fiction fantasy was the most viewed title on the streaming giant following its debut the night of December 21st, garnering 23.9 million views in 3 days plus a few hours or days. The numbers are a solid kickoff for the movie, which doesn't have big A-listers and is flying on the strength of the filmmaking brand of Snyder, who is best known for directing DC superhero movies such as Man of Steel, Batman, and Superman, and his Batman versus Superman and his Justice League film, which the director's cut was good. I know a lot of people also had a problem with the fact that they announced this movie has a director's cut that's going to come out. They view it as a stunt. I'll tell you my honest opinion about that. I don't care to see sex scenes in a movie, myself personally, as a believer. I don't care to see that. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. I'm just telling you what I don't care to see. And I think there are many families who actually enjoyed the fact that that was missing from this movie. Outside of the violence, it was something that they could watch with their kids and at least be absent that. Now, some language and other things in the movie, but at least that was absent. And I think the director's cut will have more of that in it. Some people view that as a ploy for Netflix to get more viewership, and that might be the case. But also, when you look at the controversy Netflix went through with Cuties, and look, Cuties, as far as I know, is still on their platform. So did they really take a beating off of that? I mean, who knows? But anyway, I digress. I think they may not have done this with this intention, but I think it might work in this way. There are families that were probably skeptical, like Zack Snyder. Okay, is there going to be a lot of illicit sex, things that we really don't care for in this movie? There was some alluding to that, but you didn't see that. And so I'm pretty sure some parents thought, well, okay, I'll watch this with my kids. There are certain things in it, it's gory, violent, some language, but we can get around that. But there are a lot of parents, I'm telling you, that the sex scenes, they can't get around. They're like, absolutely not letting my kids see this, not watching this with my kids. And look, this is over the holiday season. So families are going to get together and be watching movies and streaming things. Netflix probably, I'm not saying this is why they did it, but I would not be surprised if they had that in mind and said, okay, look, Zach, you can do your director's cut, more gritty, more edge, but let's put something out at least at a bare minimum that families can watch and not cringe at every scene with their kids in a room. That's a possibility. Again, I'm not saying that that's what Netflix did, just a possibility. It's been a truly unparalleled experience introducing Rebel Moon to a global audience, and I am thrilled that the movie is #1 around the world, Snyder said in a statement. We have the most dedicated and loyal fans across the world, and any filmmaker could ask for, and seeing them consistently be supportive. We read that in another article. Says, while Rebel Moon opened strong, more telling will be the week 2 numbers. Insiders say that the second week tends to be big for movies as they get a full week of viewing as opposed to just the opening. And it's also when the word of mouth kicks in. Moon does have some competition it needs to catch up on. However, Leave the World Behind opened to a whopping 41.7 million views. Wow, that's pretty crazy. I don't know. I wonder if that's over a 2-week period. I'm guessing maybe it is. So the threshold to hit Netflix top 10, which counts views raked up in the first 91 days, is at the 135 million mark. The number 10 spot is held by Extraction 2, the Chris Hemsworth action movie, which I've never watched. I haven't even looked up any reviews on that movie. It looked like it might have been decent. Maybe that's something I'll check out. With 134.9 million views. Going up the list to the top, past movies such as The Mother, 136.4 million views. The Atom Project, that was an enjoyable movie, 157.6 million views. And Don't Look Up, 171.4 million views. Is Red Notice, which has 230.9 million views. It starred Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot. I mean, come on. You got Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot. Of course the movie is going to do numbers, if for no other reason because people are huge fans of those individuals. So look, the movie it's polarizing. And I can't even say it's polarizing in both directions. It seems to be universal that people really hate this movie. And I'm going to be honest, I still hold to my original opinion. I believe it's a good movie, and I think it's odd that so many people just hate it right out the gate. But hey, what do I know? I am not a critic. I'm just a lowly dude on the internet who enjoys some stuff, and Rebel Moon is one of those things I happen to enjoy.